Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have something kind of fun to go and kind of talk about over here. We're going to be reacting over here to the CNNBC, where they're talking about the fact of how can PlayStation remain the best-selling gaming console. Now, as you guys probably know, there's been a really big industry dive when it comes to PlayStation 5, kind of taking the world by storm and being the #1 individually selling console, and of course, the big acquisition talks and Game Pass push for Xbox. But one thing to know is that, can PlayStation maintain this? Will it go and will stay relevant throughout the future, and is there going to be a PlayStation 6, 7, and so words, especially now with everything moving to a digital age? We're going to go talk about this video, so give me your thoughts and comments throughout all this as well. I'm not usually too much of a reactor, but I've also had a lot of reactions I've done on my Twitch stream, so if you guys want me to maybe do that, maybe I'll do that on my second channel in the future. And of course, the usual, we have been being sponsored by Samsung. Link down below if you guys want to enter into their giveaway or get $100 in the pre-sale off. The Twitter or Twitch stream down below, and of course, all the original video as well, link down below. And let's go and dive into the video where can the Sony PlayStation remain the top-selling game console? So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
God of War and Final Fantasy. It's been 30 years since the
Which is
PlayStation
crazy.
first brought to life some of the
It's been 30 years. It's
iconic
nuts.
video game franchises.
Well, no, done with the audio too as well. I'm not usually a reactor, so we roll with it.
Partners that release stuff that is exclusive to their platform or their own first-party studios making stuff.
This is the intro, by the way. This is like the chill, easy stuff for us to go look into.
That really pushes the success of the systems.
For PlayStation,
I saw some good. I saw I think a dot hack in that one from back in the day. If you guys know that from forever ago, that's the good.
And I think that is where the exclusivity brings.
And I agree. I think
people,
exclusivity is like the #1 biggest thing. Loyalty, engagement, consistency for future consoles. Agreed. That's why people still are Xbox and PlayStation fans.
Rollout, the PlayStation 5 was nearly impossible.
Hey, that was me. Just remember these good old days.
For Christmas or an Xbox
That was a very long time ago, I feel like, at this point.
Good luck.
Sony's always done great hardware.
And here's Jim Ryan. We have to give him a salute over here. He is now gone. Or at least in the phase out right now.
Is the best-selling video game console of all time, with nearly triple the sales of Sony's latest PlayStation.
That's why it's even
5.
crazier when compared to the
Annual
PS4
gaming
for their sales.
Exceeded $24 billion for Sony in fiscal year 2022, which makes up over 30% of the company's overall revenue. The PlayStation Network, the company's online gaming platform, has 123 million active monthly users.
And just for the quick, I'll do a few quick pauses, and that's why it's such a big deal for PlayStation to sell consoles and software, because their 30% of their revenue for Sony is huge. First, say Xbox is still a big margin, but it's not like they need that with AI and everything else integrated into Windows, etc.
For reference, that's about the same number of people who tuned in for the record-breaking Super Bowl 58.
Which is also insane on how big the gaming industry is for entertainment.
The video game industry is a $200 billion.
Yeah, it's bigger than literally the music industry. That's ridiculous.
Movies. On a revenue basis, the largest entertainment sector in the world.
And I think people like usually keep on still sleeping on video games as a whole. Also, I would love to go and tour the PlayStation studios at some point. Just saying.
The Nintendo Home Entertainment System entered Japanese homes in 1984.
We actually made a really in-depth video for this, and maybe I'll link it down below for you guys, where we actually have the hidden story of how Nintendo and PlayStation kind of formed an random alliance together. It was actually really good. We actually put a lot of effort into editing that one, so I'll maybe link that down below if you guys want to check it out.
In 1994, the PlayStation launched in Japan, which accelerated the gaming industry's shift away from cartridges.
Going over to a...
And I feel like this was always the big drive, especially when it came to the PlayStation 2. Because a lot of people were buying it just for a DVD player rather than a video game player.
And that was a large reason why a lot of third-party...
And also the video, the old school games too. And some of these games I wish were still being made to this day. Some are, but
Sony and Nintendo
we haven't heard of some of them for a while.
Signed an agreement in 1988 to jointly develop an optical disc game player. There were even 200 Nintendo PlayStation prototypes.
I quite literally made a video on this, like I said. Link down below if you guys want to check it out, if I remember.
Fell apart before its release.
Just when we were about to announce the launch of this, Nintendo backed away, and they ended up going with Philips for their optical disc.
And imagine how much this changed the video game industry as a whole.
Left at the altar, standing here.
Because without this, it would just be the Switch versus Xbox at this point.
And so the PlayStation was born.
So I think it kind of worked out good in Sony's favor at the end of the day, especially if it's 30% of their revenue still from multi-billion-dollar companies. It's nuts.
Launch that was announced at the first Electronic Entertainment Expo, known as E3. Sega, one of Sony's biggest competitors at the time, also announced its US release of its Saturn console.
And I still wonder how all these other good things, like, you know, like the Dreamcast and such, if they'd still be going well.
Considerable uncertainty. We were moving into a space that.
And here's our big boy Jim Ryan, baby.
Pretty entrenched occupants, Nintendo and Sega.
The then president of Sony Computer Entertainment America took the E3 stage and made a short but significant announcement.
$299.
And everyone's like, let's go. Dude. I mean, that's a pretty alpha announcement, though. Lowering down the price, making sure it's like a good initial standard, and kind of getting the initial audience in. Like, that's smart.
We're here to win, and we're going to come in $100 under all of you. But it just blew the doors off.
Because man, right now, if the PlayStation 5 was $400 flat versus the Xbox, would have been sick.
They're jumping all in.
But there was no way that we could assume that we were going to be successful. And it was really not until the day of launch, you know, we woke up that morning and we saw big queues outside retailers of excited people waiting to get their
This is some of the cool
hands
stuff to see, by the way. I love seeing old school PlayStation stuff. I love seeing old school retro things.
The original PlayStation went on to sell over 100 million units worldwide.
Which is ridiculous, especially don't forget how much smaller a video game was back in the day.
Same year that the PlayStation was born in
Like, it's been growing exponentially, but still.
Retire in March of 2024,
which is right now, like, he's pretty much gone, guys. That makes me sad. I don't know if we like Jim Ryan or not, but he was definitely in the 50-50.
And I'd never really played too many games before joining what was then Sony Computer Entertainment, putting CD discs.
I always wonder if it'd also be fun to work in these types of offices. I've done a few like corporate jobs like this, but I never know if I would like it or not.
Those were great days.
Also, if you guys can't tell, these videos are more on the casual side for like fun reactions, kind of watching along with you guys, so if you guys don't mind. If you guys like this type of stuff, let me know. If not, also let me know.
And by doing a joint venture between Sony Music and Sony Electronics, I think that was the key to the early success of.
I'm still actually kind of surprised even now that there's not more of a bigger connection between the two.
Released in 2000 and went on to become the best-selling video game console of all time, selling a total of over.
Which is also that's pretty much like half of America. Granted, it's global, but that's insane.
Where video gaming had never really been a thing. So, you know, Southern Europe, for example, Italy and Spain, and places
like,
like
Croatian boys or something, you know, like just getting some consoles going.
The PS2 also functioned as
also, this is so nostalgic. And this is what I was talking about before, how the DVD was such a big, like, monumental push.
Justify the purchase as DVD sales.
Because even my parents, my own parents, were okay with that.
And accounted for more than half of the
it was a double whammy. It's like we can watch a movie sometimes, we've got to steal it, and most of the time, I'm sure you guys know, it's like once a month if you're even lucky. Once a year at a certain point.
And it was. DVD was a real accelerant for the PlayStation 2 adoption.
Plus, also think about like everything all is compacted for files, make it better.
Sony released the PlayStation 3 in 2006.
And dude, okay, when I was younger, I always thought the PS3 was cooler because I had that Xbox 360. I love that it was free online. Like I was a kid. I was in like high school. So the free online was nice. I wish I had it.
When you guys announced the price of the PlayStation 3, oh my God, who's gonna buy this? This is ridiculous. At the time, now today, that kind of a normal console price, I guess. Can you just talk a little bit about the challenges in that generation that you guys went through?
Yeah, I think if I had to kind of encapsulate PlayStation 3 generation, I think I'd sort of say that we got a bit carried away with the success that we'd been enjoying on PlayStation 2, and
which is kind of true. If you go like a little bit too big, it's hard to top 155 million sales.
Difficult.
It was very, very powerful, but it was also very expensive, and it was frankly hard to develop for. We needed to work really hard with some amazing franchises.
The company slashed prices multiple times for the PS3, but still lagged behind Microsoft's Xbox 360 and Nintendo's Wii.
Well, it was hard to compete even with the Wii in the first place, too. 360 was also my console. I went PS2, Xbox 360, PS4, PS5.
Was on PS3, Resistance was on
with
PS3,
PC thrown in there.
Knew that we had to win out by not being a computer in your living room, but by being a game machine in your house.
Which I still, at this point, I think you'd still want to have a PC in your machine instead.
Be the hit Sony needed after the slump in sales from its
at least in my opinion.
It launched at a lower price than the PS3, and Sony saw its fastest start in console sales.
And once again, I wish they would keep on maintaining this cheap prices equals wins. Like, that's what we want as consumers. That's what I want as a consumer.
Consoles compared to the Xbox One.
I was playing a fair bit of FIFA back then.
You know, I would never strike Jim Ryan as a FIFA guy, though he is, I think, British. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Sports games, in particular soccer.
He definitely, I feel like the
I'm crazy about
Gran Turismo
really
FIFA vibe.
And really great gaming experience.
Like I can't see him playing Call of Duty or sitting there playing like, I don't know, God of War. I just can't see it.
What they do best, which is content. And you know, in the industry, we always say content is king.
And this is true. Yeah, you want to go make those good exclusives. I agree. And this is where they're like, we want these big baffy hitters. We want those Horizons, God of Wars. And I would agree on this. 100% I agree on this.
They spend more time in fewer blockbuster games. So what that means for us as game makers is we're making these benchmark titles, and they're big bets, they're big budgets, and that comes with a lot of risk.
The PlayStation content library is composed of first-party and third-party developed games, meaning it's a mix of games created in-house at PlayStation Studios and by
And I still them
outside
focusing so
developers.
much on building up PlayStation Studios versus
depended on
Xbox was always
third-party
smart.
developers
Like Xbox has their own studios, yeah, but
content
at this
We
point they
built
just
a
realized
platform,
better to buy
we built
Bethesda,
some
etc.
software, but the majority of the
Activision.
opportunity was
But
spread
PlayStation built it from the
across
ground up, which I think long term is also nice. Right? Like
Activision,
those homegrown studios are
Ubisoft,
good.
Namco, Capcom. Sony was happy not to be the biggest publisher on the platform as long as they could increase it. It wasn't.
I think that's a good
about
mindset.
taking
That's
shares
also a
of the
mindset I
pie,
want to have
it was
more
about
for my
making
own
the
stuff
pie
for
so
content.
bigger. And I
Make
think
something
that was a
better,
different
take it
approach
slower,
that
and
the
grow, and enjoy
PlayStation
yourself rather than
took.
trying to go make the next
But a
big,
slice of
whammy
that pie
jammy.
was taken off the table in 2023 when Microsoft completed its purchase.
And this
of
still
the
is going to
video
probably,
game
right here,
giant
this is probably going to affect the
Activision
gaming
Blizzard.
industry as a
We
whole
were
forever.
concerned about what the regulatory climate would be, but we never thought.
Also, for
that
some
there
reason,
was
Bobby
any,
Kotick looks like an elf you'd
you
find it
know,
in like the
real
North Pole.
reason that was legitimate why.
That's just,
these two
I'm just saying. I'm
companies
like, don't get me
couldn't
canceled. I'm just
The
saying.
big controversy is obviously Activision is a big producer of games, and
And it still just kind of gives them like that 10 year of like, let's see if it could be Call of Duty. But with everything changing in the gaming sphere, maybe it'll be better.
Pretty much.
Especially with the
what
Sea of
is
Thieves now
left
moving to
of
PlayStation, maybe they don't even need to have the 10 year. Maybe that's just gonna be like a
and
formality, and then
not
year 11 they'll just be like, yeah,
share
sure, why not?
games
It's going good, why not?
with PlayStation.
You had this interesting argument about.
I always say I
Microsoft
understand
buying
exclusives, I hate it.
Activision and what that could mean for exclusives, what that could mean for cloud streaming. At the same time, Sony has done very similar things, buying studios to make them exclusive or making.
Well, I feel like the only thing kind of did
exclusive
really was
deals
like
with
more on
companies like
Bungie, but
Square. In your view, why was the Activision deal wrong or bad for the industry?
Yeah, the reason that we felt this one was different to anything that had happened in the past was the sheer size and importance of the Call of Duty franchise. So we were absolutely thrilled to be able to negotiate a deal with Microsoft to ensure
And we even
that
saw
that
some
franchise
interviews this
remains
week,
available on
even saying how
PlayStation
happy he was to
platforms for
have
the
that
next 10 years.
10-year
And that was
deal.
very important to us, and we're very happy.
I mean, 10 years is still a long time.
But the timeline.
But still,
is a
like, probably
little
billions of
different, though,
dollars
right?
also made too as
Because
well.
Why didn't you agree to the deal when it was first offered? And instead
Okay,
you
I
were
always say when they say dumb
part of
comments
it
like this, but it's like
with the FTC.
he has the leverage then. Like they have the leverage.
Yeah,
They're the bigger company.
You know, we're at risk of getting very granular here, but there are deals and deals. You know, a deal that was offered at a certain point of time may not have
I think
been
the
a
initial
deal
deal
that
was like
actually
3
signed.
years, and then it bumped up to 10 years, and it bumped up to
Microsoft's
10 years, but
Activision
probably with more
acquisition
caveats.
was by far the
So
most
probably better like
expensive
revenue
acquisition
share,
in
probably better
history,
ratios.
and more than double Microsoft's
Maybe
second
chances for
largest
renewals as
acquisition
well.
of
Like a lot of
its
these things are little
2016
small things you
purchase
want.
of LinkedIn.
I see the consolidation in the industry. I see people like Microsoft or Embracer or some groups out of Saudi Arabia buying up a bunch of studios. And
Which has been true. It's like
I
Tencent
see
has their hands in
consolidation
everything.
the enemy of creativity.
And I do
You could
agree if they're trying to go
commoditize
make
the
money
product.
of Q's the
You're just going to
stockholders,
get
that's
more
okay at the end of the day, but it does kind of stifle a
Throughout
lot
its
of
time in the gaming
well,
industry, Sony
creativity
itself has
as a whole.
also acquired more than a dozen game development studios.
Some of these big
And
boys,
many
I
of
see that
these
Naughty Dog, the
studios have
Insomniac.
gone on to produce some of its biggest hits.
Although there have been a lot
Insomniac
of
Games bought the PlayStation
studios have
5
been bought out. They haven't really made
record
anything yet so
success
far, so I have to
with
see in the future.
Spider-Man 2 in 2023. And now, the way these games are being played is also evolving.
And now let's see the future of how they're going to go maintain the PlayStation stuff. This has also been kind of a fun video. There's a lot of little small
Over the
tidbits.
past decade, Sony's game revenue has shifted overwhelmingly from physical discs to
Which makes
digital
sense. I pretty much think
downloads.
almost most people
Both
always
Xbox
buy
and
digital.
PlayStation began introducing
And I still think a
entirely
pure
disc-free
digital console is probably going to be the
consoles
next
with
one
Xbox
or
Series
two.
S and the PlayStation 5 in
Like, it would not
2020.
surprise me seeing
Both
basically we have
companies
right
are also
now
improving
a
their
pure
ability
digital
for
console
users
with a
to
side
stream
attachment
games
as the
directly to
PlayStation 6.
cloud. Both Sony
Especially with how
and
big data
Microsoft
data
utilize
centers
in-house
are in
servers
streaming
for
is.
streaming games.
For Microsoft, the advantage of doing that is that they own Azure, and you know, in that respect, obviously,
It's where
their
Sony themselves
cost
should
to
go invest the
deliver
money and get their
that
own
experience
data
is
center
gonna be
hosting.
lower.
Do maybe focus on
Microsoft
gaming, focus on
controls
streaming.
60 to 70% of the overall cloud gaming market. PlayStation Plus has about 8 million subscribers to its premium.
This actually
tier
surprising because I've
that
never actually had a
allows
number
users to
that we've had a
stream from the
guesstimate for
cloud.
this. That's actually higher than
about
expected.
17% of its users that pay for its
Although if you look at the
subscription
70%
gaming
ratio, that
service.
makes sense. But it's actually very
However,
intriguing to see.
right now, cloud gaming accounts for a small part.
And I
of the
still do think
overall
cloud gaming
market.
is small now, but will grow in the
Cloud-enabled
future. I
gaming
never do it, but I have
generated
good
just
internet.
over $5 billion
And a
in
$5 billion
revenue in
market with pace with the server
2022,
hosting stuff that allows you to
which
expand and
pales
make it
in
even better. I
comparison
think
to
that seems
$35
worthwhile.
billion in console game
Also makes
sales.
everything better for
I've
PlayStation
lost
Plus,
count
Game
of the
Pass,
number of
etc. So it
times,
makes sense.
Over very many years that people have said the era of the console is over. Cloud will
This is literally me 2 minutes ago.
over time.
I like it.
become a
Luckily, just
significant
scroll back
component
literally
of the way
30
people,
seconds earlier.
enjoy
Literally me.
interactive entertainment.
But
it's
okay, in
not
my
there
defense,
yet.
though, I did go and say, it's kind of what he said. It could maybe start pure digital with an attachment, so it's still there, it's still around. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he agreed. Also, yeah, there's other places, like think in
The fact that there
India,
is a
Brazil,
rural
South
broadband
America.
initiative in the federal government indicates that rural
Well, the internet
broadband
actually may not be
needs
good.
work.
Although one intriguing thing, there actually was a brand new law that made their internet standards go up higher for the entire planet. Well, not planet, for the United States. Which actually probably would also help out cloud gaming and make sure the standards are high enough. But that's completely different video, completely different
exclusivity
topic.
and that kind of thing. They really compare PlayStation and Xbox more directly. Nintendo doesn't get talked about in the same breath as often. I feel like people kind of
Yeah, Nintendo's like, they're online. We're
Nintendo
lucky it even works, let's be honest.
Nintendo Switch is the second best-selling.
Like, it's working, yeah, don't get me wrong, but like, I would not be trusting Nintendo getting in the streaming
I think
market
that
for the
maybe
next 10 years.
mobility aspect
Maybe the
of
next
it,
console.
because it's a handheld. People think about it differently, almost more competing against the phone.
Yeah, I feel like that's
than
more of
not
like, yeah,
the
mobile,
console.
that's the
But it is
competition.
console, if you think about
Especially
what
with like Steam
PlayStation
Deck.
has
Like, they're almost in
done
their own
now
weird subsection
with
of
a
gaming, which is,
handheld
it's there,
that
it's niche,
you
it's
can
there.
pair with your PS5 and be able to, move around the home. It kind of shows that they see Nintendo as a competitor.
And that's why the PlayStation Now, it has been selling really well.
PlayStation Portal, which is a device
It's been doing
that
very, very good.
allows people to use our remote play
Now, I still think
functionality
having this as
to
pure
enjoy
streaming in the future
PS5
would make it a
gaming
better seller, but I mean, people
experiences
like
in
it. People have had really good impressions with it.
In more recent
If you have one, let
years,
me know.
there has
Down below.
also been an increase in leveraging the iconic PlayStation content outside the gaming
And also, yeah,
space.
this is also big with like the shows, the movies.
The early successes of PlayStation.
And I do think this is
productions
good at
with
the end of the day. I think it's good.
Sony Pictures. We've taken some of our best IP and converted that to movies, with Uncharted, to the TV format with The Last of Us.
I think what really impressed them was the fact that I didn't turn into a monster.
And Sony plans to keep increasing the intellectual
I mean, they should.
property
Like, they're good
within
IPs.
systems.
Although
By
you get to remember, we have to have
2025,
new stuff
the
too
company
as
says
well.
it expects
I mean, they have like
to be
Sony,
putting
Spider-Man
50%
movies,
of
sure.
its
They have
investment
Horizon,
into
sure.
new IP.
Uncharted.
That
But they
compares
don't really have that many
to
other
12%
big headers.
back
There's
in
a few, but
2019.
not as many as you'd expect. So a lot of recaps and brand new IPs are probably needed.
Cement that idea that games are.
And Twisted Metal, good example.
Pop culture.
God of War TV show, good examples. But like, after you do those, what's next? You need to have more.
Quality in the adaptations is just as important as in quality of the games that we make.
But this is true. I do think the better
The
quality
gaming
for a game,
industry is facing some
the better vibe.
headwinds.
But this is where it gets
Thousands of
scary.
Jobs were cut in the gaming industry in 2024, and last month, Sony
Especially
laid
as even
off
Sony had to lay off
900
people, so it's
workers
probably an
from
awkward thing to say in the
PlayStation
interview. It's like,
division,
hey, you guys did a big
or
layoff. What's up with
8%
that, bro?
of the unit's global workforce.
Like, hey, it wasn't me. I'm leaving. I'm like leaving next week. I'm just not me.
We are at a stage where we need to step back.
But I do kind of
and
feel like there
look
will be
at
like a
what
little bit of a
business
weird
needs.
limbo,
At
maybe
the
even a
same
gaming
time,
recession,
our
because games
industry
cost a
has
lot of money and they are kind of scary to be
experienced
at this
continuing
current day and
and
age.
fundamental change, which affects how we all create and play.
It was like to step back to make sure we have money.
I would say that it's really important never to forget that we are in the entertainment business, and that's what we do. That's our strength.
My boy
I
Jim
think
Ryan
that's
knows what's up,
why
baby.
We've enjoyed some considerable success over the last 30 years, never losing sight of that.
I would love to have that
as a
statue in the
cornerstone.
background of my videos. You guys just see a huge Kratos just looking like a beast. But this was actually really kind of fun to react. I think at the end of the day, I think it had a really good vibe where, I don't know if you guys like reaction content or pure stuff like this is the kind of chime on in. I don't really do it too often. I do it on maybe news articles, but my channel, like, just let me know. But like, it does make sense. Like, I do think PlayStation has a good long-term success chance. I think it's still the #1 market leader, although right now with the callback and recession in gaming does make things a little bit on the scarier side. But I do think Sony as a whole has a good marketing idea, make good games, sell good software, and maintain up PlayStation Plus, work on streamability and expand out besides just games, where they're trying to go focus on entertainment as a whole, let's say movies and TV shows and games, Funimation, anime, and then Xbox is more on like, hey, cloud gaming, Game Pass, and hosting and publishing, which at the end of the day could still actually work out very well. They both find they're both niche, we could go from there. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments. Definitely check out the Samsung both giveaway and also pre-order link. We have the Twitter and Twitch link down below. And I appreciate you guys very much all for watching here in the first place.